Trees are really important to the insects in the stream because they provide the shade to cool the water off. They have the nutrients from the leaves coming in, which is a food source for the bugs. They also prevent runoff going directly into the stream. This is Trout Run. It's located on a nature preserve. It's owned by Lancaster Conservancy. It's open to the public, and it's one of the nicer streams in Lancaster. It's got an amazing amount of nice bugs. It's kind of a rare jewel, I would say, in this area right here. There's agriculture in this area, but this stream's just sort of buffered from it.
To have a naturally occurring wild trout population, you need to have a good food source. You need cool water. Brook trout are the most sensitive, but the trout are just another piece of the food web that they eat the macroinvertebrates that eat the microplankton that in turn might feed osprey or mink or other predators further up the food chain. So the stronger our natural stream is, the healthier it is, the better it is to feed the whole food web.
The Conservancy's mission is to help save nature and preserve the water that we have running through our county and surrounding areas. And that was important to me. I have 3 small children and wanted to preserve the natural beauty that Lancaster County has for them and for future generations. I realized that if we didn't do that with intention, it wouldn't happen.
There's been a tremendous amount of construction in Lancaster County. It's such a fragile ecosystem. And when you come in and you start digging like that and tearing all that up and all those animals are displaced, and it takes years and years and years for that environment to get back to where it originally was. It's so important that we start preserving this land because these animals, there's nowhere for them to go.
Well, there's a lot of invasive type plants in there. One of the biggest threats to native plants and animals today is habitat loss, habitat fragmentation, especially in the northeast part of the country where we have the highest density in any area of the United States, and that's only going to increase.
Going for a hike in Kelly's Run. Phenomenal preserve, 30 years in the making, if not a little bit more than that. The original parcel was 50 acres. We're now at 550 acres here. So this was formerly known as Holtwood Park. We're now calling it the Pollinator Park. So one of the important things about the Conservancy and preserving land, I think it's like 16% of Lancaster County is forested. Of what we have remaining in Lancaster County, it's really remnants of forests. But of the remnants of forests, we actually do have some that support interior forest, interior habitat, which is supporting these plants that only really exist within a dense forested area.
We are in the newest addition to the Glen Nature Preserve. This property still needs some funding. It's about 26 acres. Where are we at? Doubts Hill and River Road. So there's Glen.
Yep.
You can see how much trees we have. They're not going anywhere. We're building on those.
You can see the ravine. So up there is that's Pinnacle.
Mm-hmm. Blanket of forest.
Yeah. I mean, how cool is that?
That leads to the river. That's the key. Any property that we want to look at, it gets a score from 0 to 100. And that really helps us prioritize which properties are the most important to protect with the limiting funding that we had. So
we're adding to that mosaic of preserved land.
Yep. And eventually this will connect with a donation from Brookfield to House Rock, Reed Run, the rest of Glen, and then go down to Kelly's Run.
Yeah. This is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. It's a real puzzle that we're putting together. Department of Conservation and Natural Resources is our biggest funder. They only fund 50% of a land acquisition project, so we need to make up the other 50% with either private donations of money or private donations of land. On top of the acquisition cost, the value of the land, you have the due diligence costs, and those costs can range anywhere from $15,000 to even $90,000. And that all depends on the size and location of the property, the topography. If there's a lot of steep rocks and things like that, it can really drive up those costs.
If you look at the projection for the growth rate in Lancaster County over the next 30 years, we're really running out of these special places. And if you see the amount of people that gravitate to these, it's a double-edged sword. We want to protect them, but they kind of get loved to death. So it's critical that we save as much as we can while we can.
We live in such a technical world right now. Everybody's on their Facebook, on their phone, and they have blinders on. Take the blinders off. Look at this great area that we have.
I did not know that what I do along my property, along the river, affects the water. I really didn't until I started talking to the people at the Conservancy, the people at the Alliance for the Chesapeake Bay, and realizing that what I do along here affects hundreds of miles of this river going into the Chesapeake Bay, and people don't care. They just don't know a lot of times.
Each plant, each tree, each animal that lives in the trees and the plants, it's so important because they all work together. Everybody works together. If we keep going this route of just wiping out parts of this area, there are not going to be any animals left for the next generation.
There used to be a bald eagle that would fly back here all the time and nested right back there in that where the woods used to be, and have not seen that, since those have come down. So that's kind of a good visual about what can happen if we don't preserve habitat.
You're going in, you're cutting down the trees, you're wiping out these forests. Where's the red bat and the hoary bats going to go? And these guys eat thousands of bugs. One big brown bat can eat up to 1,200 insects in 1 hour.
I tell people that we have really cool natural landscapes out here in Lancaster, and they don't believe me. They're used to going up to the Adirondacks and
Sure.
lake houses, and then I bring them out here, and they just can't believe that this is right in their backyards. And
I mean, I was looking for a place like this after I got off the Appalachian Trail. and
well, that's
this
why you
has it
stay
all.
here.
Yeah, this is beautiful.
Lancaster, York,
I love living out here.
got it all.
But we need to preserve. We need to preserve because we can't get that back. Extinct is forever. Once it's gone, it's gone.